Hello folks, this is Steve AB4L. Well, it's a great day. A home repairman came by. His name is Carl. Thank you, Carl, for getting my heat pump working again. Bad capacitor. The capacitor is needed in order to start the motor, which runs the pump and the fan on the radiator. Thank you, Carl. Anyway, this is a mind-wandering day. Nothing in this episode is a promotion other than of myself, nor a recommendation. No, we're not going to look at Slashdot. A few minutes ago, I was actually looking at something, and I came across this. Fox News. So I was scrolling down, boring, really boring stuff. And then I saw this. Mediterranean spot, swim trunk ban sparks backlash over Islamic values. Now, I can't tell by the picture what country it was in. You know, what would French beaches be like compared to... But the Mediterranean is a big ocean, big sea. So I clicked on it. Beach town bans. See, they're trying to always put a video in there. They think pushing the video on a news site is brilliant. Beach town bans men's too short swim trunks, sparking debate and rule flip-flop. Controversy highlights tension between, and this is why I continued, because I knew it wasn't France, Islamic modesty and tourism in Algeria. Now, just a day or two ago, I put up a video in which one of the things I said was that in 1966, when I went around Europe, across North Africa, in the Middle East some, back up into Europe, into Yugoslavia, and then back, and then finally back to the United States, of all of the countries I have hitchhiked through, which is more than 20, hitchhiked through, the view, the scenery of northern Algeria, at least in 1966, was the most beautiful of all of the countries I visited. And I placed Italy in second place for probably a very similar reason in terms of what you see. So at least back in 1966, and I assume now, the northern coast of Algeria is incredibly beautiful to see as you travel. But if you look at, and we will, a map of Algeria, you'll see that 70% of Algeria wouldn't meet that description. So this article is written by somebody named Ashley DeMilla, Fox News, written today, published a couple hours ago. We can listen to the article, but let's read it. While some tourists may have a sky out, thighs out attitude toward their swim trunks, she doesn't mention whether it's men or women, one Mediterranean town begs to differ. She still hasn't directly said Algeria. But then in the next paragraph, she says the mayor of Chatabi, Algeria, called for longer and looser shorts on men, issuing a decree, fatwa, banning them from walking around in Bermuda shorts, presumably in the city. So now she quotes the mayor. These summer outfits disturb the population. They go against our society's moral values and sense of decency, the mayor said according to Associated Press. Well, there's a simple answer to that. If non-Algerians, and it probably means Europeans, are flocking to the Algerian coast and offending Islamic values, just refuse the visas. To hell with the money they bring. Unless, of course, you can show us pictures of something really outrageous, like Côte d'Azur swimwear. The population can no longer tolerate seeing foreigners wandering the streets, presumably in downtown, in the hotels and whatever, in indecent clothing. The decision sparked a regional, this is a key in why I'm doing it, debate over religious and traditional attire as opposed to the habits of more open-minded beachgoers, which would be the strangers from foreign countries. Okay, so you can see the breakwater, and this is actually the port, and the beach here looks like it's deep and everybody's right at the water. And there may be some kind of paved pass. Now, there's something, one more paragraph, and I'm going to say it, and it's part of the reason why I'm doing this, because I'm trying to figure out why they would have something, even comment on it, but I kind of figured it out. Officials in the coastal city of Annaba, yes, I've been to Annaba. Yes, I stayed in a hotel in Annaba. It was the last hotel room place I stayed in Algeria before going to Tunisia. Officials in the coastal city of Annaba, I even remember the guy, French pied noir. Pied noir is French for black feet and refers to French citizens that were born in Algeria and still call themselves French rather than Algerian. Officials in the coastal city of Annaba called on the mayor of this other city, I presume, to rescind his order. And after 2 days of controversy, so it's one city on the coast arguing with another city. Why would they do that? After 2 days of controversy, the mayor did reverse the order, saying he wanted to preserve peace and tranquility for both locals and tourists, and that he was not influenced by Islamic pressure. He must mean he wasn't influenced by Islamic pressure to make the rule in the first place, I guess. Now, let's see if we can kind of figure this out. We want to go to maps. Now, this is part of the north coast of Algeria. The city we're talking about is right there. It's on the coast. And this is probably a not very highly populated mountainous area. It's probably like the county that it's in, although that's not exactly so. Annaba is here, and you see the way that's a town at the coast on a small harbor? Oh, thank you. Can you see that it's a town nestled on a small hill, on a small harbor? Okay? Annaba is a major city with skyscrapers, apartment buildings. It is the major city in eastern Algeria. It was then, and it is now. So there's Annaba, and it includes stuff that goes beyond it. Annaba is a port city in northeastern Algeria on the Cours de la Revolutionary, the main street. Cours is street, concourse, with broad central promenade. Architecture reflects the blah, 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 blah. This was a major French colonial city. I stayed in a hotel in Annaba the day before I left Algeria. I even specifically remember that I couldn't find a youth hostel, so out of desperation, I went to what looked like a small hotel. And I asked for a room for the night, but I asked for how much it would be. And it was too much money. But there was a menu at the front desk. And then as I looked down, I saw that there were 2 rooms in the basement. And the price on them was extremely low. So I said to the concierge behind the desk, I want one of those. And he said, no, you're not allowed, in French. But I kept insisting. So finally he gave in. And for like $1.50, this is 1966, instead of $20, I got a room in the basement with a cot and a little bathroom between the 2 rooms. No shower or anything. And that was my last night sleeping in Algeria. But Annaba is a big tourist city. That's what you should keep in mind as we talk about what's going on. So some hick mayor in this hillside town, gently sloping, that barely has any commercial harbor, this is satellite view, so we're now up to a magnification. We can get a feeling for the size of this by the size of these small boats, which are small recreation and fishing boats and canoes, essentially. We don't see any larger fishing boats except here. There's a couple of fishing boats, but they're not very big. And this is the main pier. It's no big deal. And then we look here, and the town comes right down to the edge of the water. And this town is so insignificant that there's no street view. It's so insignificant, there's no street view. We'll see if that's true of Annaba. There's a camera. So there's a hotel there. There's a cafe, Front de Mer, right down by the docks. You can see the water. Sports club, but it's only in Arabic. Post office. I don't know what APC is. Cité Citon. Now hang on. I found a youth hostel shared. Dar el Gamra Daudi. It shows a bed. So it's a cheap flop house. There's no street view. Here's another one. Here's another one. So there's all these small. Now let's do a search. I'm going to do this. Remember what I said? I was looking for a youth hostel in Annaba and I couldn't find one? Youth hostel. And then I'm going to say the city name. And it says there's places like this in Morocco, the same name, Morocco, Kenya, France, and I'm going to say Algeria. And let's see if you Google search knows anything about it. Show results with hostel in Chete. Here it is. The youth hostel is this. So there is somebody that pretends to be, there's somebody who pretends to be a youth hostel. Hostels in Algeria, cheap backpacker and youth hostels, orbits. But none of these actually mention this city. If you're a real youth hostel, you would want to advertise yourself on some place like this for people like me when I was hitchhiking through so that you would do the business. You're an alternative for those backpackers. They don't want to go to hotels. Remember what I said about how I got into a tussle with the maitre d' at the hotel in Annaba? Because I didn't want to spend that much money and I couldn't find a youth hostel? So at least over here on the right, there's one right there, and it says directions. And there it is. Now, this looks like a residential district. So it's somebody renting out a house they're not using. Now, I'm going through all of this for a reason. The mayor of this town that barely has a beach. Look at it. There's the main road, there's a little bit of fence, and there's 30 feet of, and you don't see anybody on the beach. And he's complaining about tourists coming to town and walking around in their bathing suits, and it's offending the local population. Well, who's he talking about offending his local population? Day visitors. What's actually happening is that the beaches are overcrowded at Annaba, and people get on a bus, they're in a hotel, and they want to get away from Annaba for a day and see something about Algeria. So they get on a bus, and they go along this one road up to this town, and they have lunch there, and they walk around, and they do a little shopping, and then in the evening they get up back on the bus, or they stay there overnight, and then they come back the next day. And it's part of the money-making operation. Tourists going out to the countryside is a business. There are people who run those tours. And now the mayor over there is spoiling it for them, giving them the finger. Don't send those foreigners up here with the way they dress. And Annabelle is going, are you crazy? We need the dollars, the francs, and the pounds. Because what does Algeria sell to the world to make any money? Tourism. I told you, northern Algeria is incredibly beautiful, at least it was in 1966. But as soon as you head south in Algeria, see the little, do you see this coastal thing right here? That's the beautiful part of Algeria, and 90% of Algeria is plain old desert. Nothing else to see. So anything they make from agriculture is strictly along the northern coast. And who are they competing with for tourists? Constantine. And what is Constantine named after? That doesn't sound like an Arabic name. And you know what? It's not a French name. It was a major Roman city named after Emperor Constantine. And yes, I've been there too. And Annaba is competing with Constantine for tourists, because actually Constantine is a very interesting place to visit and see. So the people in Annaba got all over the mayor up here for opening his big mouth, because they want the tourist dollars. They don't want any bad news. Now, let's see if this is a big deal city. This is Annaba. It's the easternmost port in Algeria on the Mediterranean. And in contrast to that hick town, we can see some freighters unloading or loading here at the commercial docks. Annaba EDS, you can see the crane right there. You see the crane? Port Operating Company. And so you've got this, so the big waves don't come in and juggle the ships around. So it's a major port. And is there any beach? Where's the beach? Where's the beach? It doesn't look like there's any beach. What's this here? Can you see how it discolors the water? What's this stuff here? It's a river. But if you go along and you look, plage is beach in French. Here's a place, Plage Sidi Salem. Salem is peace. Salam. It's the same root. Do we see anybody on the beach? There's something right here. Those might be beach chairs. There's something that is right along this section. Yeah, those are cabanas. So people do come to the beach here. And there are cabanas there. I know we would get a picture of them. You rent them for the day. So and there's restaurants along here, like Cafe Food Fahid. City government offices down there. You can go and fish. All right? This is a tourist attraction, besides the fact that it's a major port. And so Annaba province, with its capital city of Annaba, heard about this hick mayor getting Islamic on everybody and said, what the hell are you talking about? We send people on day trips to you, and you want to kill that? Are you crazy? You can't cut. There's little enough for people to come here anyway. And you want to kill one of the things we make money off of? Our bus operators are not going to like that. You think I'm making it up? Now you can go. So it's a major city. Now, can I get the name of the town? I want to try the same thing I did before. Youth Hostel, Annaba. There's a youth hostel there called Bumaza Athmane. And it's out here. And there's another one here. And there's another one here. Does that look like a youth hostel, or does that look like a hotel? Looks to me like they're jumping in and they're getting themselves listed as though they're a youth hostel. But the youth hostel part might be in the basement. Who knows? Remember, I've been there. So let's try the one that's way up the coast that they showed us that actually says youth hostel. People are swimming there. It's in an old building. How can I tell? Can you see what it looks like here? This is a youth hostel. I can tell by the building. It was a commercial building for another reason. Somebody bought it, the factory went out of business, and they converted it into a youth hostel for backpackers. It's up on a hill, but it's not far from the water, which is right down there. It says youth hostel right on the side of the building. L'Auberge de la Jeunesse. L'Auberge de la Jeunesse. Annaba. Now I'm using it actually in French. And it shows me that one up on the tip of the coast again. Petite Fouté, L'Auberge de la Jeunesse, Annaba, Algeria. Come here and make contact. That's what the French says. Sidi Brahim, Entrée de la Ville, near the city entrance. This is another one. There aren't a lot of them, but they're there. Now, these people don't spend a lot of money. I'm going to tell you one final story about Annaba. All right, so I started with Fox News. I thought the way the story was written, it was almost as though the writer was picking in things that she was unfamiliar with about a country she's never been to, and the story wasn't totally coherent or actually explain anything sensible. So I've come through this and shown you what's really at stake. Now, I was able, getting out on the highway after that night in the basement room for $1 or whatever it was in Annaba, I was able to hitchhike my way out of the city, and then right away I got a ride from a French couple, a Pied-Noir. They were French citizens born in Algeria, husband and wife. As I think back on it, I would say their ages were about 30 years old. They were only slightly older than me, and they didn't speak very much English, but they decided, because apparently I had a backpack and I obviously wasn't an Arab, a local, they gave me a ride from Annaba along the highway to the border with Tunisia. To this place right here. So we get out of the car. Now you see what it says here, Tunisia. This is the actual crossing. But there was a border control a little bit earlier. Now things may have changed in the meantime. Here, probably right here, because I had to walk to that. Why did I have to walk? We got to either here or here, somewhere right here, which was the actual military-controlled eastern border of Algeria. We get out of the car, they're going to do their visa and passport stuff with those people, and I've got my rucksack and I show to another person, official, and they're fine with it, and they stamp me with an exit stamp. Now, these people that were giving me a ride were on their way to Tunis, the capital city of Tunisia. They were from Annaba. But suddenly, because they're Pied-Noir, and it's only been 3 years since Algeria got independence from France, the officials said, you can't leave. There's something wrong with your passports. And you need to go back to Annaba, get it fixed up. Otherwise, we're not letting you go to Tunisia. And they said, let's call back. And they said, the telephones aren't working. This is the stuff I got from the French couple. The telephones aren't working, which was not implausible. You have to understand where we are. So I didn't get a ride to Tunis. They said goodbye. They turned the car around. The guys opened and they went back. And then I walked to right here, and one of the things I asked them was, where can I exchange my Algerian dinars for, and they said down there right at the border. But when I got right at the border, at the actual place where you step over, they said, go to the bank in Tunis. A few days later, when I got to the bank in Tunis, I see my mind wanders, but I'm telling you all the things that happened. A few days later, when I got to the bank in Tunis, the exchange line was very long, and there was a gal at a wooden table, and she was taking care of people who came in to exchange money. And I was standing in line, and I was like fourth or fifth back, and I had the Algerian dinars in my hand. And at one point, the gal who was actually doing the banking for people looked at me, and she looked to catch my eye, and then she looked down at my hand, and I was wondering, and then I looked down at my hand and I've got the Algerian dinars there, and then when I look back at her, she goes like this. What do you think she told me? We don't exchange them, they're worthless. That's right. Algerian money is worthless. We don't exchange it. You should have done it before. Remember, right? At the passport control, they said the foreign exchange is right at the border. When I got to the border, they said you have to go to the bank in Tunis. You see, it's a big game. They know their money's worthless. Nobody wants it. It's 1966. Now, I'm giving you some feedback. What does Algeria do today for foreign currency, foreign exchange? Tourism is one of them. Don't mess with the tourist money. So was I stranded? This will be the end of it. So here's the border point, and it was that big one up there. Maybe it was down here. Now, I'm looking for a particular place. I'm trying to find it. Pardon me. This is not a very good map. Too many small towns. Hang on, I'm trying to remember. Oh, come on. I'm 80. I'm in my 80s, and I can't remember the name of the town, and I should be able to, because it was so memorable. It was a vacation town. Come on, where is it? Eindhoven. It came to me. That's the way. You remember Biden? Eindhoven. Okay. All right, so I'm wrong about where we tried to cross. It was here. No. Whatever it was, somehow I had made it down to here after the French couple had to go back. I'm standing at a crossroad like that. This car is coming in the opposite direction. They see me. Now remember, I'm hitching presumably in the direction of Tunis, southward. And this car is coming from the opposite direction. They turn around, they come back. They want to know about me. And they said, it's too far to go to Tunis tonight. Come with us. We'll put you up for the night. These are complete strangers. Now think of the French couple that gave me the ride from just outside of Annaba. So they take me to Annaba, the opposite direction. And I stay with them for like a day and a half, maybe it was 2 days. It was after dark when we got there. So they already had rented a hotel room or a villa room. It was a villa actually, not at a hotel, vacation villa. And they had me sleep on the sofa. And they said they would take me to the L'Auberge de la Jeunesse the next day, the youth hostel, which they did. And when we got to the youth hostel, it's not those. When we got to the youth hostel, it was closed. But there was a person there, and we found out why it was closed. During the night, a wild pig, male, big, got into their yard, which they had any moneyed family or building would have a wall around their property to keep the thieves out. A wild pig got in there and wrecked everything. It tore up the benches, it tore up the flower gardens, it knocked over small trees, it bashed in the door to the youth hostel, it wrecked it. Because it was doing what typical wild pigs do, male pigs. So I spent the next night with the people back in their villa. Now, why would they pick me up? It actually was because of his wife. It was a married couple. They were in their late 50s or early 60s. He owned a haberdashery store in Tunis. They were staying there for the week. So I left on my own, but they took me back to the road junction in the car to help me go on because it would be hard from Eindhoven. She was looking after me like I was her son, making sure I got fed and enough to drink and all that stuff. She didn't speak any English. She spoke Spanish and Arabic. He spoke Spanish and Arabic and reasonable English. He owned one of the biggest men's haberdashery, men's fashion shops in Tunis, he told me. But they were originally from Madrid. Under the Franco revolutionary times, he was a Republican, which was the losing side. And like a video I made yesterday about other people, once the Civil War in the late 30s was over and Franco's dictatorship took hold of all of Spain, he was a prominent lawyer, Republican lawyer in Madrid, and he was given the word, leave the country for exile or you go to a political prison for the rest of your life. So they took their money because he claimed that he was an important Republican lawyer in Madrid, having a lot of government connections under the previous regime in parliament, and they moved to Tunis, which was their exile. And he, of course, couldn't practice law there, but he invested his money in men's fashion for the French clients that were still there. The rich French clients that were still there. So, I started with this article. As I read down through it, I thought there were things missing, and I thought there were some subtle contradictions in the article. Clearly written by a person who's never been there and knows absolutely nothing about Algeria at all. But if she can turn these out, she gets paid. And her name is Ashley. It's an Italian name. She's a reporter for Fox News Digital, Twitter, Beach Town bans men's too short. See, that's her latest article. Here's her LinkedIn page. Same gal. New York, Fox News Media, American University. Where's that? Is it in Washington? And about is see more, but I have to log in, so she's not trying to advertise herself. And she got her college education. I was correct. American University in Washington, D.C. I had a girlfriend who got her international politics degree there, international studies there. Yep, I recognized it. See other alumni. She's probably never been out of the country. But it was some kind of business news, and they bought the article, and it went under the. All right, so let's see what sort of thing she writes. 5 hours ago, Beach Town bans men's too short swim trunks, sparking debate and rule flip-flop. You have to read that it's a mayor in Algeria. Next one, day ago, travel. Deadly rip current fatalities reported amid summer beach season as experts weigh in. And it doesn't give a hint what country, presumably the United States. Another day ago, police officials host bear drills following string of bear attacks. I saw that news item. That's United States. Oh, that's Japan. Excuse me. That's Japan. The bears are attacking people in Japan. International travel. Flight one day ago, flight passengers make easy money in unexpected seat swap deals, sparking big debate. I don't like where I'm sitting. I got $100. Can I sit over there? Flight passengers shared story of earning $100 by swapping to a middle seat as a travel expert. Yeah, if somebody wanted to be by a window and didn't want to be sitting next to a crying baby, I got $100. Who will swap my seat? Oh, have I seen anything like that in my travel on airplanes? Way back. Overdosing tourists in vacation hotspot are straining local health. We can see what kind of flavor stuff she does. That's 2 days ago. New TSA program launched to eliminate double screening in international flights, and you also can keep your shoes on. But that's week-old news. Rescue operation frees injured man trapped 130 feet underground in Italian cave. Do you think she's ever been? Popular beach town brings Sunday mass to shore so faithful won't miss the sermon or the surf. Beachside Catholic Mass on Long Island. So we can see what kind of stuff, really deep stuff. But she sells. That's all that counts. She makes, every one of you see here, she got paid for. Somebody made the decision. Either that or she has a quota and she has a fixed rate. See how my mind wanders? Do you think I don't understand these things? Do you think I haven't known people who do this for a business? It's not anything new. Let's find out where the Italian cave is, since I have an Italian family name. And then we'll go. Let's see if it's any place I've ever been near. Just cut the crap, will ya? While exploring the Abisso Paperino cave in Italy, along with others, the explorer became trapped by falling rocks. So right away, she assumes that if she even told us which part of Italy it was, it would just go right over our head. The Abisso, abyss, Peparino Cave extends nearly 600 feet underground. We've got mines like that in North Carolina. It's home to a fossil gallery here we go, near the of Ormea in Cuneo province. Now, I'm going to say it. I've never seen this article before. You see how my mind wanders. For some reason, I decided that just for fun, I would pick on this one because it had something to do with Italy. I've been to Italy, and because I have an Italian family name. Right? Now I'm going to show you an example of something that has been happening all of my life. Let's see what the major city is in this province. Is it Genoa? Oh, Genoa is over here. I'm close. And there's a city called Cuneo. And you're wondering why I'm fascinating on it. Because on the grandmother's side, her name was Cuneo. Cuneo, when she left Genoa on a boat to America. How did I zero in on an article that would contain one of my family names? How do these things keep happening all through my life? Wow. Steve A. before you, and it's in the Piedmont region of Italy. And where am I? I'm in the very heart of the Piedmont of North Carolina. Steve A. before you, just an idiot running his mouth, saying see you in 73.